by leaving a comment below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the story, everyone. Manhattan, New York, 2:00 a.m. Camera flashes exploded like fireworks when Ethan Carter, Manhattan's startup golden boy, pressed his lips against those of a complete stranger in the middle of the Forbes magazine launch party. "What the heck?" shouted Olivia Grant, pushing him so hard he nearly knocked over a table of caviar canapés. "Have you completely lost your mind?" Journalists swarmed like hungry vultures. Ethan grabbed her arm, whispering desperately, "Please, just pretend we're dating for 5 minutes. My ex is over there with that Wall Street jerk, and I—" Olivia crossed her arms, her green eyes sparkling with rage. She looked stunning, even when furious, in that red dress that hugged her curves perfectly, auburn hair escaping from an elegant updo. "Because I'll pay you $10,000. Olivia stopped breathing for a second. $10,000 would cover 3 months' rent on her tiny Queens apartment, plus student loan payments that kept her awake at night. "Ethan! Ethan!" The reporter shouted. "Who's the mystery girl? Is this your new girlfriend?" "Darn, darn, darn," Ethan muttered, running his hand through his disheveled blonde hair. At 29, he was the youngest CEO to appear on Forbes's cover, but right now, he looked like a 1-2-year-old who'd broken the neighbor's window. Olivia looked around. There were at least 15 photographers, 3 television cameras, and what appeared to be half of New York's business elite watching the drama unfold. Her freelance journalist mind quickly calculated, this story would be in every tabloid by morning. 15,000, she whispered back, a forced smile appearing on her lips for the cameras. "Deal, and I want it in writing, pretty boy." Ethan blinked, surprised by her cleverness. Most women he met at parties like this were spoiled heiresses or fame-seeking influencers. This girl had fire in her eyes, and a Queen's accent that cut through all that Manhattan pretension. Olivia Grant, New York Tribune. She introduced herself to the reporters, extending her hand like a queen greeting subjects. "And yes, Ethan and I are exploring a romantic connection." Cameras went wild. "How did you two meet?" shouted a blonde reporter from page 6. Olivia looked at Ethan, who seemed like a deer in headlights. Typical rich men always expected other people to clean up their messes. "Actually," Olivia smiled sweetly, linking her arm through Ethan's. "We met when he spilled coffee on my laptop at Starbucks last month. He's been trying to make it up to me ever since." "That's surprisingly accurate," Ethan murmured, impressed. "I'm good at improv, sweetheart," she whispered back, squeezing his arm hard enough to leave a mark. "Now, smile like you're madly in love with me, because tomorrow morning this is going to be front-page news." And she was right. By 6:00 a.m., Kissgate was trending on Twitter with over 2 million TikTok views, and wild speculation about the identity of the mysterious redhead who had captured the heart of New York's most eligible bachelor. Olivia woke up to 47 missed calls, 238 text messages, and the terrible feeling that she'd just dove headfirst into the kind of mess that could ruin her journalism career forever. But $15,000 was $15,000, and secretly, she could still taste his lips. Olivia's phone buzzed for the 67th time as she stumbled into her favorite coffee shop in Astoria, wearing yesterday's wrinkled dress and sunglasses that couldn't hide her exhaustion. The barista, Marco, nearly dropped his espresso cup when he saw her. "Holy cannoli, Olivia. You're all over the internet." Marco waved his phone excitedly. "Look. Page 6 has you as their front story. Mystery woman steals heart of tech billionaire." "He's not a billionaire," Olivia mumbled, ordering her usual triple shot. "And I didn't steal anything except maybe my dignity." Meanwhile, across town in his penthouse overlooking Central Park, Ethan was having his own crisis. His assistant, Sophia, paced frantically around his marble kitchen island, laptop balanced in one arm, while juggling 2 phones. The Wall Street Journal wants an exclusive. TMZ is offering 6 figures for Olivia's contact info. "Your mother has called 14 times from the Hamptons. And oh wonderful, your ex, Chloe, just posted a very passive-aggressive Instagram story about some people's desperate publicity stunts." Ethan groaned, face planting into his granite countertop. "I'm never drinking champagne again." "Sir, with all due respect, you had 1 glass last night. This mess is pure panic, not alcohol." His phone rang. Unknown number. Ethan hesitated, then answered. "Ethan Carter's phone." "This is..." Listen up. Golden boy. Olivia's voice cut through his greeting like a sharp knife. We need to talk now. Your little stunt has turned my life into a three-ring circus. My stunt? You're the one who improvised that coffee shop story because you kissed me without permission in front of half the media world. Meet me at Washington Square Park in 20 minutes. And Ethan, yeah, bring the contract and a really good explanation. 23 minutes later, Ethan found Olivia sitting on a bench feeding pigeons with pieces of a bagel while aggressively scrolling through her phone. She'd changed into jeans and a Columbia University sweatshirt, her auburn hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Somehow, she looked even more beautiful in daylight. You're late, she said without looking up. Traffic was. I don't care about traffic. I care about the fact that my editor just called me into his office because apparently dating sources is against Tribune policy, even fake dating. Ethan sat down carefully, maintaining distance. Look, Olivia, I know this got out of hand. Out of hand? She finally looked at him, and he saw dark circles under her eyes. I've got photographers camped outside my apartment building. My landlord thinks I'm some kind of celebrity now and wants to raise my rent. My best friend, Lily, has fielded 27 interview requests, and my mother in Ohio saw us on the Today Show this morning and is convinced I'm secretly engaged. The Today Show covered us? Olivia showed him her phone screen. There they were, frozen in that passionate kiss with the headline, New York's hottest new couple. This is actually not terrible publicity for my company, Ethan said thoughtfully. Olivia stared at him. Are you seriously thinking about business right now? I'm always thinking about business. It's why I'm successful. And it's probably why my ex left me for Wall Street guy. That hit harder than intended. Ethan's jaw tightened. Chloe left because she said I was emotionally unavailable and married to my work. Her words, not mine. Well, she wasn't wrong about the work-marriage part. They sat in uncomfortable silence, watching a street performer juggle fire nearby. Finally, Ethan pulled out a folded paper. Here's your contract. $15,000 for playing my girlfriend. Until this media frenzy dies down. Should be a week, maybe 2. Olivia read it carefully. This is surprisingly thorough for something you wrote on cocktail napkins last night. I had my lawyer draft it this morning. Sophia found your address through the Tribune staff directory. That's mildly terrifying and impressive. I prefer efficient. Olivia looked at the contract, then at Ethan, then at the contract again. $15,000 would solve so many problems, but something about his clinical approach bothered her. I have conditions. First, no more surprise kisses. If we're doing this, we communicate everything. Agreed. Second, I get to write an exclusive behind-the-scenes piece about fake dating a CEO when this is over. Anonymous, of course, but it'll be great material. Ethan considered this. As long as you don't make me look like a complete jerk, I'll only make you look like a partial jerk. Final condition. We do this my way. I grew up in Queens. I know how to handle a media circus. Your trust fund boy approach clearly doesn't work. I didn't have a trust fund, Ethan protested. I built my company from nothing. Sure, golden boy. And I'm secretly a Kennedy. Despite himself, Ethan smiled. Olivia had this way of cutting through his defenses that was both infuriating and refreshing. So, we have a deal? He asked, extending his hand. Olivia shook it firmly. Deal. But Ethan? Yeah? Next time you need a fake girlfriend, maybe try asking before you kiss. It's called consent, and it's very trendy these days. As they walked away in opposite directions, neither noticed the photographer with the telephoto lens who'd captured their entire conversation from behind a hot dog cart. By evening, the headlines would read, Lovers Quarrel or Business Meeting, Ethan and Olivia's Secret Park Rendezvous. The game was just beginning. 3 days later, Olivia stood in front of Ethan's closet, which was roughly the size of her entire apartment, holding up 2 ties like she was defusing a bomb. Navy or charcoal? She asked, studying his reflection in the full-length mirror as he buttoned his crisp white shirt. Does it matter? It's just lunch with my business partners. Ethan Carter. We are about to walk into Le Bernardin, where there will be at least 6 photographers, 3 gossip columnists, and your ex-girlfriend's best friend sitting 2 tables away. Everything matters. Ethan paused, impressed despite himself. How do you know Mia will be there? Because I called the restaurant, pretended to be your assistant, and got the reservation list. Also, Chloe posted on Instagram that she's having lunch with Mia at the most romantic restaurant in NYC today. Basic detective work. Remind me never to underestimate you. Too late for that, golden boy. Olivia had spent the last 3 days transforming herself into Ethan Carter's perfect girlfriend. Gone were her thrift store finds, replaced by a sleek black dress that Ethan's stylist had delivered. Along with shoes that cost more than Olivia's monthly grocery budget, her hair was professionally blown out, her makeup flawless. But something in her eyes suggested she was playing dress-up rather than being herself. "You look beautiful," Ethan said quietly, and for a moment, his usual business facade cracked. "I look expensive. There's a difference. Olivia, save it. We have a performance to give." The ride to Le Bernardin in Ethan's Tesla was tense. Olivia scrolled through her phone, coaching him on their backstory while he drove through Manhattan traffic. "Remember, we met at that Starbucks on 42nd Street. You spilled your coffee on my laptop, insisted on buying me a new one. We started talking about your company's environmental initiatives. I did my research, by the way. Very impressive stuff. And you asked me to dinner. Why environmental initiatives? Because I'm supposedly a freelance journalist who covers sustainability. It explains why I'm smart enough to keep up with your conversations but not rich enough to afford designer clothes. You are smart enough to keep up with my conversations." Olivia glanced at him. "Don't sound so surprised." "I'm not. I'm just... Most people in my circle aren't." "That's sad, Ethan." "It's efficient." "No. It's sad. When's the last time someone challenged you? Really challenged you? Not just tried to impress you or get something from you." Ethan was quiet for several blocks. "Honestly, I can't remember." "Well, buckle up. Buttercup. I challenge people for a living." Le Bernardin was a stage, and they were the main act. The moment they walked in, conversation stopped. Olivia linked her arm through Ethan's, leaning into him as they were seated at their table. To any observer, they looked like a couple completely absorbed in each other. "The salmon is supposed to be incredible here," Olivia said loudly enough for nearby tables to hear. Then whispered, "Mia's, at your 2 o'clock. Don't look." "I wasn't going to look." "You were totally going to look." Men always look. Their business lunch was with Ethan's mentor, David Lee, a seasoned venture capitalist who'd funded Ethan's first startup. David arrived with his wife, Susan, who immediately zeroed in on Olivia with the predatory interest of someone who collected social information like baseball cards. "So, Olivia, Ethan tells us you're a journalist." Susan smiled with shark-like precision. "How refreshing. Most of the girls Ethan dates are in, what do you call it? Influencer marketing." Olivia caught Ethan's slight wince. Chloe had been an influencer. "I prefer storytelling to self-promotion," Olivia replied smoothly. "Though I suppose we're all selling something, aren't we?" "How philosophical," David laughed. "Ethan, I like this one. She's got spine." "She certainly does," Ethan said, and when he looked at Olivia, there was something genuine in his expression that made her stomach flutter unexpectedly. The lunch progressed beautifully. Olivia charmed David with questions about his early investments, made Susan laugh with stories about disastrous interview experiences, and played the role of supportive girlfriend perfectly. She asked intelligent questions about Ethan's business, touched his arm at appropriate moments, and generally gave an Oscar-worthy performance of a woman completely smitten, but it was during dessert that everything shifted. "Ethan's been different lately," David observed, "happier, more present. Usually, during our meetings, I can see his mind running calculations. Today, he keeps looking at you like you might disappear." Olivia felt Ethan's hand find hers under the table. His thumb traced small circles on her palm, and she realized with a jolt that he might not be acting anymore. "She has that effect on people," Ethan said quietly. Their eyes met across the table, and for a heartbeat, Olivia forgot they were performing. The way he was looking at her, like she was something precious he'd stumbled upon accidentally. "Excuse me," a voice interrupted. Mia, Chloe's best friend, appeared beside their table with a smile that could cut glass. "Ethan, what a surprise seeing you here, Mia." Ethan's voice was carefully neutral. "How are you?" "Wonderful. Chloe and I were just talking about how quickly you've moved on. It's been what, 3 weeks since the breakup?" Olivia felt Ethan's hand tense in hers. This was the moment that would define their entire charade. "Actually," Olivia stood up, keeping her voice honey-sweet, "it's been 4 weeks and 2 days. Not that anyone's counting, but Ethan and I have been friends for months before we started dating. Sometimes the best relationships grow from genuine connection rather than, well, whatever works for other people." Mia's smile faltered. "Of course, how wonderful for you both. It really is." Olivia beamed, then leaned down to kiss Ethan's cheek. "Sweetheart, didn't you say we have that appointment with the wedding planner this afternoon?" The lie was so outrageous, so perfectly calculated to send Mia running back to Chloe with explosive gossip, that Ethan nearly choked on his wine. Right, he managed. The wedding planner. Mia's eyes widened. Wedding planner? Oh, we're not engaged yet. Olivia waved dismissively, but Ethan's so thoughtful. He wants to scout venues early. He says, when you know, you know. After Mia practically sprinted away, David and Susan were grinning like they'd just witnessed the best entertainment in years. Remind me never to get on your bad side. Susan laughed. Wedding planner? Ethan whispered as they left the restaurant. Trust me. By tonight, Chloe will be losing her mind, wondering if you're about to propose to your rebound girlfriend. It's psychological warfare. You're terrifying. I'm effective. There's a difference. But as they walked to his car, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that somewhere between the hand-holding and the fake wedding planning, something real had started happening. And that terrified her more than any photographer or gossip columnist ever could, because falling for Ethan Carter wasn't part of their contract. The paparazzi photos from lunch would hit social media within hours. Ethan gazing at Olivia with unmistakable adoration. Olivia's hand resting possessively on his chest. Both of them looking like two people completely, hopelessly in love, which was becoming less of an act and more of a problem every day. Olivia's phone rang at 6:47 a.m. on a Saturday, jolting her awake in her Queens apartment. The caller ID made her stomach drop. Mom, Ohio, Olivia Marie Grant. You have exactly 30 seconds to explain to me why I'm watching my daughter kiss a billionaire on Good Morning America while I'm eating my oatmeal. Olivia groaned, pulling a pillow over her face. He's not a billionaire, Mom. And good morning to you, too. Don't you good morning me, young lady. Martha Thompson called me at 6:30 this morning because she saw you on her grandson's TikTok. TikTok, Olivia? Since when are you on the TikToks? It's just TikTok, not the TikToks, and I'm not exactly on it voluntarily. Is he treating you well? Because your father is already Googling his background. And let me tell you, we found some very interesting articles about his dating history. Olivia sat up, suddenly alert. What kind of articles? The kind that suggests this young man has commitment issues. Olivia, sweetheart, I know you're independent and all that, but maybe you should slow down a bit. This is all happening very fast. If only she knew how fast. Olivia thought miserably. Mom, I promise I'm being careful. Well, you better be. And Olivia, your grandmother wants to know if he's Catholic. Oh, for crying out loud. Language. Olivia Marie. 27 minutes later, Olivia stood outside Ethan's building on the Upper East Side, wearing jeans and a Yankees jersey, carrying a bag of bagels, and what felt like the weight of the world on her shoulders. The doorman, who now recognized her as Mr. Carter's girlfriend, waved her up without calling ahead. She found Ethan in his kitchen, laptop open, surrounded by financial reports and empty coffee cups. Even on Saturday morning, he was in business mode, wearing expensive-looking sweats and an MIT t-shirt that somehow looked designer on him. We have a problem, Olivia announced, dropping the bagels on his marble counter. Good morning to you, too. Please, come in. Make yourself at home. Ethan, I'm serious. My mother saw us on Good Morning America. Ethan looked up from his laptop for the first time. That's not necessarily bad. Parents like stability. My parents live in Sandusky, Ohio. My dad works at a Ford plant. My mom teaches 3rd grade. They think you're some kind of Wall Street mogul who's going to break their daughter's heart and leave her emotionally scarred and financially ruined. But I'm not a Wall Street mogul. I'm a tech entrepreneur. That's your takeaway? That's what you're focusing on right now? Ethan closed his laptop, finally giving her his full attention. Olivia, what exactly are you worried about? I'm worried about lying to my family. These are good people, Ethan. Salt of the earth. Midwestern good people who raised me to tell the truth and work hard and not get involved with complicated men in complicated situations. Am I complicated? You paid me $15,000 to fake date you to make your ex-girlfriend jealous. Yes, you're complicated. Ethan was quiet for a moment, processing this. Do you want to call off the deal? Olivia stared at him. Is that what you want? I want you to be comfortable. That's not what I ask. They looked at each other across the kitchen island, and Olivia realized they were having two different conversations. Ethan was thinking about contracts and business arrangements. She was thinking about the way his hand felt in hers at lunch and how he'd looked at her like she mattered. Before either of them could say anything else, Ethan's phone rang. He glanced at it, and his face went pale. It's my mother. Answer it, Olivia. You don't understand. My mother is intense. More intense than mine, asking if you're Catholic? Ethan answered the phone, putting it on speaker without thinking. "Ethan, darling." A crisp voice with a slight Boston accent filled the kitchen. "I'm calling from the Hamptons. Eleanor Wilson just showed me the most delightful article about you, and some lovely girl. When do I get to meet her?" Olivia's eyes widened. Ethan looked panic-stricken. "Hi, Mrs. Carter." Olivia jumped in before Ethan could respond. "This is Olivia. I've heard so much about you." There was a pause. "Oh, you're there. How wonderful, Ethan. You didn't tell me she was there. We're just having breakfast, Mom." "At his apartment?" "Mrs.?" Carter's voice had a note of approval. "How modern." "Olivia, dear, what do you do?" "I'm a journalist, Mrs. Carter. I write for the Tribune." "How impressive. A working woman. I do admire independence. Ethan, bring her to Sunday dinner tomorrow. I insist." Ethan looked at Olivia with pure terror in his eyes. Olivia, for reasons she couldn't explain, found herself saying, "We'd love to come." "Excellent. 6 o'clock sharp. Olivia, I hope you like lobster." After his mother hung up, Ethan stared at Olivia like she'd just volunteered them for a suicide mission. "Do you have any idea what you just did?" "I said yes to dinner with your mother. How bad can it be?" "Olivia, my mother once made a Fortune 500 CEO cry during cocktail hour because she didn't like his table manners. Lucky for you, I have excellent table manners. This isn't a joke. My mother will see through our charade in about 30 seconds. She has a PhD in psychology and the social instincts of a shark." Olivia sat down on one of his expensive bar stools, finally understanding the magnitude of their situation. "So, what do we do? We could call and cancel, say you're sick, or we could get really good at being fake in love in the next 24 hours. Ethan leaned against the counter, studying her face. "You're not backing down, are you?" "Nope. Are you?" "This is insanity. This whole thing has been insane from the beginning. But Ethan, I've been thinking about something." "What?" "Your ex-girlfriend? Chloe. Why did you really want to make her jealous?" Ethan was quiet for a long time. "I guess I wanted to prove that I wasn't as broken as she said I was." "What did she say?" "That I was cold, emotionally unavailable, that I cared more about success than I did about people." Olivia felt something twist in her chest. "And you believed her?" "The evidence was pretty compelling." "Ethan, look at me." He met her eyes reluctantly. "You're not cold. You're careful. There's a difference, is there?" "Yes. Cold people don't worry about hurting other people's feelings. You've been walking on eggshells around me for days, making sure I'm comfortable with every aspect of this arrangement. That's just good business. No, that's being considerate. And for the record, Chloe was wrong about something else, too." "What?" "You do care about people. You care so much that you've convinced yourself caring is a weakness. That's why you hide behind all the business talk and efficiency." Ethan stared at her, and Olivia realized she'd just said something that cut deeper than she'd intended. The silence stretched between them, loaded with things neither of them was ready to say. "So," Ethan said finally, "how exactly do we convince my mother we're head over heels in love?" "We practice acting like a couple. Real couples have inside jokes. They finish each other's sentences. They know little details about each other. If your mother is as sharp as you say, we need to be flawless." Ethan considered this. "What did you have in mind?" "Spend the day together, not as fake girlfriend and client, but as two people getting to know each other. Learn my coffee order, my favorite movie, what makes me laugh. I'll learn yours. By tomorrow night, we'll be so good at this that even we'll believe it." "That sounds dangerous." "Why?" "Because what if we get too good at it?" Olivia felt her heart skip a beat. "Then we deal with that when it happens." Ethan nodded slowly. "Okay, but I have one condition." "What?" "We're honest with each other today. No performing, no pretending. If we're going to sell this, we need to know who we actually are." "Deal." "But Ethan?" "Yeah?" "I should probably warn you. The real me is a lot more complicated than the fake girlfriend version." "Good," Ethan said, and his smile was different now, warmer, more genuine than she'd ever seen it. "I like complicated." They spent the next hour talking over bagels and coffee, sharing stories about their childhoods, their fears, their dreams. Olivia told him about growing up in Ohio, about her parents' 30-year marriage, about the scholarship that brought her to Columbia and the student loans that kept her up at night. Ethan told her about the pressure of being the only child of two successful academics, about building his first company in his dorm room, about the loneliness of success. By noon, they were walking through Central Park, and Olivia realized with a shock that she was actually enjoying herself, Not the performance of enjoying herself, but genuinely having fun. Ethan was funny when he let his guard down and thoughtful in ways that surprised her. He noticed things. The way she tilted her head when she was thinking, how she bit her lip when she was nervous, the fact that she stopped to pet every dog they passed. "Tell me something nobody else knows about you," Olivia said as they sat by the reservoir. Ethan was quiet for a moment. "I used to want to be a teacher." "Really?" "Really. Before the business stuff took off, I thought I'd get my PhD in computer science, maybe teach at MIT or Stanford. I like explaining things, helping people understand concepts that seem impossible at first. What changed? Success, I guess. Once the money started coming in, it was hard to walk away, and my parents were so proud. They'd spent their whole lives in academia watching their friends get rich in the private sector. When their son became successful, it validated something for them. Do you regret it sometimes? What about you? What don't I know?" Olivia hesitated. "I wanted to be a novelist." "What's stopping you?" "Reality. Novels don't pay rent. Journalism barely does." "Have you written one?" "Started dozens, finished none." "Why not?" "Because what if I finish it, and it's terrible? As long as I don't finish, I can still believe I might have talent." Ethan looked at her with something like understanding. "Fear of failure. Fear of mediocrity. Failure you can learn from. Mediocrity is just mediocrity." "You're not mediocre, Olivia. How do you know?" "Because mediocre people don't improvise wedding planners to psychologically warfare their fake boyfriend's ex-girlfriend." That was brilliant. Olivia laughed despite herself. "That was just survival instinct." "No, that was strategic thinking under pressure. You're wasted on journalism. What should I be doing instead, oh wise mentor? I don't know yet, but whatever it is, it's bigger than writing articles about city council meetings." They talked until the sun started setting, and Olivia realized something that should have terrified her. She didn't want the day to end, not because of their arrangement, not because of the money, but because Ethan Carter was turning out to be someone she actually liked, someone she could fall for if she wasn't careful, which was exactly the problem. As they walked back toward his building, Ethan's phone buzzed with a text. He showed it to Olivia. A photo of them sitting by the reservoir, heads close together, laughing about something. The caption read, "Love is in the air." Ethan Carter and mystery girlfriend Olivia Grant, spotted on romantic Central Park date. Wedding bells soon. Couple goals. Love story. "We're getting good at this," Ethan said. "Maybe too good," Olivia replied, and they both knew she wasn't talking about fooling the photographers. Sunday arrived with the kind of crisp autumn weather that made New York feel like a movie set. All golden leaves and perfect lighting. Olivia stood in front of her closet at 3:00 p.m., having already changed outfits 4 times, surrounded by rejected dresses like a fashion battlefield. Her phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. "How nervous should I be on a scale of 1 to 10? She typed back, "Somewhere between meeting the Pope and defusing a nuclear bomb. That's not helping." "Good. Misery loves company." 3 hours later, Olivia emerged from Ethan's Tesla, wearing a navy wrap dress that struck the perfect balance between elegant and approachable. Her hair in a low chignon that had taken 45 minutes to perfect. Ethan wore a charcoal suit without a tie, and despite her nerves, Olivia couldn't help noticing how the casual formality made him look devastatingly handsome. "You look beautiful," he said, and there was something in his voice that made her stomach flutter. "You clean up pretty well yourself, golden boy." "Olivia, before we go in there, yeah? Whatever happens tonight, I want you to know that yesterday was the best day I've had in a long time." Olivia felt her carefully constructed emotional walls crack slightly. "Ethan, I know this is complicated. I know we have an arrangement, but I need you to know that." "Okay," she said softly. "For what it's worth, I had a good time too." The Carter family estate in the Hamptons was exactly what Olivia had expected. Sprawling, immaculate, and intimidating as a fortress. The kind of place where every piece of furniture cost more than her annual salary. As they walked up the stone pathway, Ethan took her hand, and Olivia wasn't sure if it was for the performance or for moral support. "Remember," he whispered, "my mother will try to separate us at some point to interrogate you alone. It's her signature move." "Noted. What's she like when she's not being intimidating?" "I'll let you know when I find out." The front door opened before they could ring the bell, revealing a woman who was clearly Ethan's mother. Margaret Carter had silver hair pulled back in a perfect French twist, intelligent blue eyes that missed nothing, and the kind of effortless elegance that came from generations of good breeding. She wore a cream-colored cashmere set, that probably cost more than Olivia's car. Ethan, darling. She kissed both his cheeks in a way that suggested European summers and exclusive boarding schools. And you must be Olivia. How lovely to finally meet you. Margaret's handshake was firm, and Olivia noticed she held eye contact just a beat too long, as if taking an initial assessment. Mrs. Carter, thank you so much for having me. Your home is absolutely gorgeous. Please, call me Margaret, and thank you. The house has been in the family for 60 years. Ethan, your father is in his study pretending to read but actually Googling Olivia's articles. I told him it was rude, but you know how he gets. Ethan groaned. Mom, what? I thought it was resourceful. Olivia, I hope you don't mind. Thomas gets curious about anyone important to Ethan. The word important hung in the air like a test question. Olivia squeezed Ethan's hand. I don't mind at all, though I should warn you, my early pieces about the subway system renovation were pretty dry reading. Oh, we've moved beyond those. Thomas found your investigative piece about the affordable housing scandal quite compelling. Very thorough research. Olivia blinked, surprised. You actually read my work? Of course, dear. If you're important to my son, you're important to me. Ethan looked as shocked as Olivia felt. His mother had never shown interest in any of his previous girlfriends' careers. They were led into a living room that belonged in Architectural Digest. All cream furniture and carefully placed antiques. Ethan's father, Thomas Carter, rose from a leather armchair with the same tall, lean build as his son, but with silver hair and wire-rimmed glasses that gave him a distinguished professor appearance. Olivia, wonderful to meet you. His handshake was warmer than his wife's, and his smile reached his eyes. I have to say, your piece on the Hudson River Cleanup Initiative was excellent journalism. You have a real talent for making complex environmental issues accessible. Thank you, Dr. Carter. That means a lot coming from someone with your background. Ethan shot her a questioning look. Olivia had done her homework, too. Please, call me Thomas. Ethan, you didn't tell us Olivia knew about my environmental policy work. There's a lot Ethan doesn't tell us, Margaret said with a meaningful look at her son, which is why I'm so delighted to finally meet someone who's clearly captured his attention so completely. Dinner was served in a dining room with a view of the ocean, and Olivia had to admit the lobster was exceptional. The conversation flowed surprisingly easily. Thomas asked thoughtful questions about her journalism. Margaret shared stories about her work with various charitable foundations, and Ethan seemed to relax as the evening progressed. So, Olivia, Margaret said as they finished the main course, how did you and Ethan really meet? Olivia felt Ethan tense beside her. The coffee shop story, like we mentioned. Oh, I'm sure that's the story you tell everyone, but I'm curious about the real story. The moment you knew there was something special, Olivia looked at Ethan, and suddenly she knew what she had to do. The truth, not the whole truth, but enough truth to make this real. Honestly, Margaret, the first time I met Ethan, I thought he was a complete snob. Ethan nearly choked on his wine. His parents looked delighted. Really? Thomas leaned forward with interest. Really? He was in this expensive suit, talking on his phone about some acquisition, and he had this air about him, like the world existed for his convenience. That sounds like Ethan, Margaret said dryly. But then, Olivia continued. Finding her rhythm, he spilled coffee on my laptop, and instead of just apologizing and walking away like I expected, he sat down. He spent 20 minutes helping me save my files, asking about what I was working on, and when I told him about the story I was researching, he didn't just nod politely. He asked real questions, smart questions, questions that actually made my article better. Ethan was staring at her, and Olivia realized that what she was describing was exactly what had happened yesterday in the park. The way he listened, the way he engaged, the way he made her feel like her work mattered. He doesn't just hear you, Olivia said softly. He actually listens. That's rare. The silence that followed was loaded with emotion. Margaret had stopped eating entirely, studying both of them with sharp intelligence. And what about you, Ethan? She asked. What was your first impression of Olivia? Ethan looked at Olivia for a long moment before answering. I thought she was going to murder me. Everyone laughed, but then he continued. But then she started talking, and I realized I'd never met anyone who was so unafraid. She didn't care that I had money or connections or whatever. She just cared about whether I was worth her time as a person. And was he? Thomas asked Olivia. The jury's still out, Olivia said with a smile, but her voice was softer than her words. Ethan's never brought anyone home before, Margaret observed. In fact, he's never talked about anyone the way he talks about you. Mom, Ethan warned. What? It's true. You called me 3 times last week, just to tell me stories about things, Olivia said. You never call me 3 times in a month. Olivia looked at Ethan with surprise. He'd been talking to his mother about her. You should see him at work, Olivia said, deflecting. He's like a different person, all confidence and strategy. It's actually pretty impressive. You've been to his office? Margaret asked. Warning bells went off in Olivia's head. They'd never established this part of the story. A few times, she said carefully. I find the tech world fascinating. Olivia's thinking about writing a feature about startup culture. Ethan jumped in smoothly. She's been shadowing me for research. Nice save, Olivia thought. How wonderful, Margaret said. And what's your take on my son's work life, Olivia? Is he as much of a workaholic as I suspect? This was dangerous territory. Olivia could feel Margaret probing, looking for inconsistencies. He works hard, Olivia said honestly, but I think he's afraid of slowing down. Afraid of what? Olivia glanced at Ethan, who nodded almost imperceptible, afraid that if he stops moving, stops achieving, people might realize he's just human, that maybe his worth isn't tied to his success. The silence that followed was profound. Margaret and Thomas exchanged a look that suggested years of parental concern. And what do you think about that? Margaret asked gently. I think, Olivia said, looking directly at Ethan, that the people who matter don't love you because of what you achieve. They love you because of who you are when nobody's watching, when you're just yourself. Ethan's eyes were intense, and Olivia realized she'd just said something that cut to the heart of who he really was. Well, Margaret said finally, I can see why Ethan is smitten. After dinner, Margaret insisted on showing Olivia the garden, while Ethan helped his father with something in the study. Olivia knew this was the interrogation Ethan had warned her about, but surprisingly, she wasn't nervous anymore. Olivia, can I speak frankly? Margaret asked as they walked among perfectly manicured rose bushes. Please. Ethan has dated many women over the years. Beautiful women, accomplished women, women who looked perfect on paper. But I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. Olivia's heart skipped. How does he look at me? Like you're a miracle he's afraid he doesn't deserve. Margaret, I know my son, Olivia. He's brilliant. He's successful. He's handsome. But he's also convinced himself that those are the only things that make him lovable. You look at him like none of that matters. It doesn't. I know. That's why he's falling in love with you. Olivia stopped walking. We haven't. I mean, it's still early. My dear, I have 3 degrees in psychology and 40 years of marriage. Ethan is in love with you. The question is, how do you feel about him? Olivia stared at the ocean, visible through the trees, and felt her carefully constructed defenses crumble completely. I'm terrified, she admitted. Of what? Of how much I care about him. This wasn't supposed to happen. We're from completely different worlds. I eat ramen for dinner 3 nights a week, and he probably spends more on lunch than I make in a month. Do you think that matters to him? It might not matter now, but what about later? What happens when the novelty wears off and he realizes I don't fit in his world? Margaret was quiet for a moment. Can I tell you something about Ethan's father? Olivia nodded. When I met Thomas, I was a graduate student living on scholarship, money, and instant coffee. He was already a professor, published, established. Everyone said we were from different worlds, too. What happened? We built a new world together. That's what love does, Olivia. It doesn't force you to fit into someone else's life. It creates space for something neither of you had before. They walked in comfortable silence for a few minutes before Margaret spoke again. Ethan needs someone who challenges him, someone who sees him as more than his achievements. You do that? How do you know? Because in the 3 hours you've been here, I've seen my son laugh more than he has in the past year. Because when you talk, he stops thinking about business and starts thinking about you. And because when you described how you met, you didn't talk about his money or his success, you talked about his character. Olivia felt tears threatening. Margaret, I need to tell you something. What, dear? We're not. This is complicated. Margaret smiled. Olivia, I've been married for 37 years. Everything worth having is complicated. When they returned to the house, they found Ethan and his father on the terrace, deep in conversation about environmental policy and corporate responsibility. Ethan looked up as they approached, and his face lit up in a way that made Olivia's chest tight. How was the garden tour? He asked. Enlightening, Margaret said with a meaningful look at Olivia. As they prepared to leave, Margaret hugged Olivia warmly. I hope we'll see you again soon, dear. You're welcome here any time. Thank you for everything, Margaret. Ethan, Margaret turned to her son. Don't mess this up. Mom, I'm serious. This one's special. The drive back to Manhattan was quiet. Ethan seemed lost in thought, and Olivia was processing everything Margaret had said. The comfortable silence felt different now, loaded with unspoken feelings and possibilities. "Your parents are wonderful," Olivia said finally. "They liked you a lot. My mother never shows anyone the garden on the first visit. She's very perceptive. What did she say to you out there?" Olivia hesitated. "She said you're falling in love with me." Ethan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "And what did you say?" "I said it was complicated." "Is it complicated?" Olivia looked at his profile in the dim light from the dashboard. Strong jaw, slightly crooked nose from a childhood soccer injury he'd told her about. Eyes focused on the road ahead. When had she started memorizing the details of his face? "Ethan, we need to talk." "That sounds ominous. This whole fake dating thing, it's not fake anymore, is it?" Ethan was quiet for so long that Olivia thought he wasn't going to answer. Then he pulled over at a scenic overlook and turned off the engine. "No," he said finally. "It's not fake anymore. So, what do we do now?" "I don't know. I've never been in this situation before." "What situation?" "Actually falling for someone I'm paying to pretend to love me." Olivia laughed despite herself. "When you put it like that, it sounds completely insane." "It is completely insane. Olivia, I need you to know something. The money, that's not why I'm still here." "Why are you still here?" Olivia took a deep breath. "Because somewhere between yesterday in the park and tonight at dinner, I realized that I'm falling for you too. The real you, not the CEO, not the Forbes cover story, not the guy with the penthouse and the Tesla. You, the guy who wanted to be a teacher. The guy who spent 20 minutes helping a stranger save her laptop files. The guy who looks at me like I'm something precious." Ethan reached over and cupped her face in his hands. "Olivia, I'm scared. I'm scared too, Ethan. I'm scared because this feels too big, too fast, too impossible. What if we just see what happens? No contracts, no arrangements, no fake anything, just us, figuring it out as we go. What about the media, the photographers, your ex-girlfriend? Let them think whatever they want to think. The only opinion that matters to me is yours. Ethan Carter, are you asking me to be your real girlfriend?" "Olivia Grant, I'm asking you to give us a real chance." Olivia looked into his eyes and saw something she'd never seen before. Vulnerability. Ethan Carter, the man who controlled million-dollar deals and commanded boardrooms, was as terrified and hopeful as she was. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay, let's see what happens." Ethan kissed her then, soft and sweet and full of promise. And Olivia thought dimly that this kiss was nothing like their first one. This one wasn't for the cameras or the gossip columns or anyone else. This one was just for them. When they broke apart, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. "For the record," he said, "my mother was right. I am falling in love with you." "Just falling?" Ethan smiled, and it was the most beautiful thing Olivia had ever seen. "No," he said, "I'm pretty sure I'm already there." As they drove back to the city, neither of them noticed the photographer who had followed them from the Carter estate or the telephoto lens that had captured their entire conversation through the Tesla's windows. By morning, the headlines would read, "Real love or really good acting. Ethan Carter and Olivia Grant's romantic overlook rendezvous." But for now, they drove through the night with the windows down and the radio playing two people who had found something real in the middle of something fake, ready to see where this impossible, complicated, beautiful thing might take them. The stakes had never been higher, and Olivia had never been more terrified. She also had never been happier. 3 weeks later, Olivia woke up in Ethan's penthouse to the sound of her phone vibrating like an angry bee against the marble nightstand. The early morning light streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows told her it was barely 6 o'clock a.m., but the urgency of the buzzing suggested something was very, very wrong. She rolled over to find Ethan's side of the bed empty, though she could smell coffee brewing in the kitchen. They'd fallen into an easy routine since that night. At the Overlook, she'd kept her Queen's apartment for appearances and practicality. But most nights found her here in his space, that was slowly becoming their space. Her books were scattered on his coffee table. Her favorite coffee mug sat in his cabinet. And her hair ties had mysteriously appeared in every room. The phone buzzed again, then again. Olivia grabbed it with growing dread, squinting at the screen without her contacts. 15 missed calls from her editor, Larry. 23 from her best friend, Lily. 47 text messages from numbers she didn't recognize, and 1 email marked urgent. "Call me now," from Larry. With a sick feeling in her stomach, Olivia scrolled to the first text message from Lily. Olivia, please tell me you're seeing this. Call me now. She stumbled out of bed, wearing one of Ethan's MIT t-shirts that fell to her knees, and padded barefoot toward the kitchen, where she could hear Ethan talking to someone, probably Sophia, his assistant, who seemed to work around the clock. Ethan, she called, but stopped short when she saw his face. He was standing at the kitchen island, laptop open, phone pressed to his ear, and his expression was the kind of grim that suggested someone had died. When he saw Olivia, he quickly ended his call. How bad is it? Olivia asked. Though she wasn't sure she wanted to know, Ethan turned the laptop toward her, and Olivia's blood turned to ice water. The headline on page 6 read, "The Greatest Love Story Never Told." Inside Ethan Carter's $15,000 fake romance scandal. Below it was a crystal-clear photo of Ethan sliding a contract across the table to Olivia at Washington Square Park, taken with a telephoto lens that captured every detail, including Olivia's signature at the bottom. "Oh my God," Olivia whispered, sinking onto one of the bar stools. "It gets worse," Ethan said quietly, scrolling down. The article was thorough, devastating, and mostly accurate. An anonymous source had provided photos, details about their arrangement, even quotes from their conversation in the park. The writer had traced the timeline from the Forbes party kiss to their first business meeting to their increasingly public displays of affection, painting it all as an elaborate publicity stunt gone wrong. But the worst part was the final paragraph. Sources close to Carter suggest that what began as a calculated move to make his ex-girlfriend jealous has evolved into something more complicated, with the tech mogul reportedly genuinely smitten with his paid companion. Grant, a struggling freelance journalist, has been unavailable for comment. The question remains, when love is literally bought and paid for, can it ever be real? Olivia felt like she might throw up. "Ethan, I swear to you, I didn't leak this. I know you didn't." "How do you know?" "Because you'd never write something this badly, and because I trust you." Olivia looked up at him, surprised by the certainty in his voice, even as her phone continued its angry buzzing. "Who do you think did it?" Before Ethan could answer, his doorman's voice came through the intercom. "Mr. Carter, there are approximately 30 reporters in the lobby, and more gathering outside. Should I?" "Don't let anyone up, Marcus." "Thank you." Ethan ran both hands through his hair, and Olivia noticed he was already dressed in a suit despite the early hour. "I have to go into damage control mode," he said. "My board is having an emergency meeting in 2 hours. This kind of scandal, it could affect our upcoming IPO, investor confidence, everything." "Ethan, I'm so sorry. This is all my fault." "No, it's not. I kissed you, remember? I started this whole mess." Olivia's phone rang again. This time it was Larry, her editor. "I should take this," she said reluctantly. "Olivia?" Larry's voice was loud enough for Ethan to hear. "Where the hell are you? I've got reporters calling me, asking if the Tribune knew about your arrangement with Carter. Did you declare this relationship when you pitched that startup culture story? Because if you didn't, Larry, I can explain." "Explain, Olivia." "You took money to fake date someone, and then wrote about startup culture for us, while allegedly sleeping with a CEO. Do you have any idea how this looks for the paper?" "I never wrote about Ethan specifically. That's not the point. The point is journalistic integrity. The point is that I have to decide whether to fire you before the Tribune gets dragged into this mess, or after." Olivia felt tears threatening. "Larry, please give me a chance to fix this." "Fix this?" "Olivia, this isn't a typo or a missed deadline. This is a career-ending scandal. I'm sorry, but I have to protect the paper. Your press credentials are suspended pending a full investigation." The line went dead. Ethan had been listening to the entire conversation. "Olivia, I'm sorry. I'll call him. Explain that you were just what? Taking money to lie? Because that's exactly what I was doing. That's not how it ended up. It doesn't matter how it ended up, Ethan. It matters how it started. And it started with me agreeing to deceive people for money." Olivia's phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Olivia Marie, your father and I are watching the news. Please call us immediately." Another text, this time from her college journalism professor. "Very disappointed to see your name in this context. We expected better." And another from her younger brother in Ohio. "Sis, are you okay?" The story's everywhere, even made local news here. "I need to go home," Olivia said suddenly. "Olivia, wait, we can figure this out together." "No, Ethan. You need to figure out how to save your company. I need to figure out how to save my career. Those are two different problems. They don't have to be." Yes, they do, don't you see? This is exactly what everyone's going to say, that I was just using you, that our relationship was never real, that I'm some kind of gold digger who got in over her head. But we know that's not true. Do we, Ethan? Be honest. If you hadn't paid me that first night, would you have ever asked me out? If we'd met at a coffee shop like normal people, would Ethan Carter have given Olivia Grant from Queens a second glance? Ethan was quiet for a long moment, and Olivia knew she'd hit on something he'd been thinking about, too. I don't know, he said finally, but I know that what we have now is real. Is it? Or is it just Stockholm Syndrome with better thread count? Before Ethan could respond, Olivia's phone rang again. This time, it was Lily. I have to take this, Olivia said, walking toward the bedroom. Olivia, where are you? Lily's voice was frantic. There are reporters outside your apartment. Mrs. Wong called me because they were asking her about you. Mrs. Wong was Olivia's elderly neighbor who always brought her soup when she was sick. What did she tell them? That you're a lovely girl who works too hard and deserves privacy. But Olivia, they're digging into everything. I saw a reporter at Columbia asking questions about your student loans, your scholarship status, even your dating history. Olivia sat down heavily on Ethan's bed. This is a nightmare. It doesn't have to be. Olivia, I read the article. Yeah, it's bad. But the comments, a lot of people are on your side. They're saying Ethan was lucky to find someone real in his fake world, that you obviously fell for him for real. That doesn't matter if I can't work anymore. So, don't work in New York. Olivia, you're talented. You could freelance from anywhere. Maybe write that novel you're always talking about. With what money? I just lost my job, Lily. What about Ethan? Can't he help? I can't ask him to support me. That would just prove everyone right that I'm with him for his money. Olivia could hear Ethan talking to someone in the kitchen, his voice tense and businesslike. Probably his lawyer or PR person figuring out how to minimize the damage she'd caused to his reputation. I need to get out of here, Olivia told Lily. Can I crash at your place? Of course. But Olivia, maybe talk to Ethan first? Really talk to him. After Lily hung up, Olivia sat in the quiet bedroom, looking around at the space that had started to feel like home. Ethan's watch on the nightstand next to her earrings, his business books mixed with her novels on the shelf. The framed photo from his parents' house that Margaret had insisted on taking, the two of them laughing at something his father had said. Looking ridiculously happy, she was still staring at the photo when Ethan appeared in the doorway. Sophia managed to push my board meeting to this afternoon, he said. We have some time to figure out our strategy. Our strategy for dealing with this together? Olivia turned to face him. Ethan, there is no our strategy. There's your strategy for saving your business, and my strategy for salvaging what's left of my career. And those strategies probably don't align. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe we should stop pretending this can work. Ethan looked like she'd slapped him. You want to break up? I want to be realistic. Look at this objectively, Ethan. We're from completely different worlds. This scandal proves that I'm a liability to you now. That's not true, isn't it? Your board is having emergency meetings because of me. Your IPO could be affected because of me. Your reputation. I don't care about my reputation. You should. It's your livelihood. Olivia, you're my what? Your what, Ethan? Your girlfriend you paid $15,000 to acquire? Your charity case from Queens who got in over her head? Your midlife crisis? You're the woman I'm in love with. The words hung in the air between them, raw and honest and terrifying. Olivia felt her carefully constructed arguments crumble. Ethan, I know this is complicated. I know the timing is awful, and the circumstances are insane. But Olivia, I need you to know that what I feel for you has nothing to do with any contract or arrangement. It has to do with the way you challenge me and make me laugh, and see the world differently. It has to do with the fact that you're the first person in years who's made me want to be better, not just more successful. Olivia felt tears spilling over. But what if it's not enough? What if love isn't enough to overcome all this? Then we'll figure it out together. Ethan, your whole world is watching. The media, your investors, your competitors, everyone's going to be looking for signs that this relationship is fake, that I'm using you, that you're making poor business decisions because you're thinking with your heart instead of your head. Let them look. You say that now, but what about when it affects your company? What about when investors start pulling out because they think you're distracted or compromised? Ethan was quiet for a long moment, and Olivia could see him processing the weight of what she was saying. Are you asking me to choose between you and my company? I'm asking you to be realistic about what this relationship costs you, and what about what it gives me?" Before Olivia could answer, Ethan's phone rang. He glanced at it and grimaced. "It's my head of PR. I have to take this." While Ethan talked to his PR team, Olivia packed her things into the overnight bag she'd brought 3 weeks ago and never taken home. It felt symbolic somehow, fitting her entire presence in Ethan's life into one small bag. She was zipping it closed when Ethan returned. "They want me to do a press conference," he said. "Address the scandal head on." "What are you going to say?" "The truth." "Which is what exactly?" Ethan sat down on the bed next to her. "That yes, our relationship started as an arrangement. That yes, I paid you to pretend to be my girlfriend. But that what we have now is real. And I don't care who knows it." Olivia felt her heart breaking and soaring at the same time. "Ethan, you can't do that." "Why not?" "Because it'll ruin you. Your investors, your board, the business world, they'll see you as someone who makes emotional decisions over logical ones. It'll follow you forever." "Then what do you suggest?" Olivia took a shaky breath. "Tell them it was all fake, all of it. That you hired me for publicity and it got out of hand. That you're ending the arrangement immediately and focusing on your business. And throw you under the bus? Better one of us than both of us." "Olivia, I'm not going to destroy your reputation to save mine. My reputation is already destroyed, Ethan, but yours doesn't have to be." They sat in silence, both understanding the impossible position they were in. Outside, Olivia could hear the distant sound of cameras clicking and reporters calling Ethan's name. "There's another option," Ethan said finally. "What?" "We could leave both of us, just disappear for a while. Let the media frenzy die down. I have enough money that we could go anywhere, do anything." Olivia looked at him, this man who was offering to abandon everything he'd built for her. "Ethan, you can't run away from your life." "Why not?" "It's my life." "Because running away isn't who you are. You're a fighter. You build things. You solve problems. You don't quit when things get difficult." "I'm not quitting. I'm choosing what matters most." "And what if you regret that choice? What if in 5 years you resent me for being the reason you gave up everything you worked for?" "That won't happen. You don't know that." Ethan stood up and began pacing the room. "So, what are you saying? That we should break up? That we should pretend the last month never happened?" "I'm saying maybe love isn't always enough. Maybe sometimes loving someone means letting them go." "That's the most ridiculous thing you've ever said." "Is it?" "Ethan, look at yourself. 3 weeks ago, you were focused, driven, building something amazing. Now you're talking about abandoning your company to run away with a girl you met at a fake relationship arrangement. That girl is the best thing that ever happened to me." Olivia felt her resolve wavering but forced herself to stay strong. "Then prove it by not letting me destroy your life." Her phone buzzed with another text, this time from her mother. "Sweetheart, your father and I are driving to New York. We'll be there tonight. Whatever's happening, we love you." Olivia showed Ethan the text. "Your parents are coming here, apparently, which means I really need to go home and figure out how to explain this to them." "Olivia, please don't leave. Not like this." "Ethan, I have to. Can't you see? Every minute I stay here makes it worse for both of us." Ethan grabbed her hands. "What if I don't care about worse? What if I only care about us? Then you're not the man I fell in love with." The Ethan I love is smart and strategic and doesn't let emotion cloud his judgment. The Ethan I love wouldn't sacrifice everything he's built for a relationship that started with a lie. But Olivia, no. "Ethan, if you love me, really love me, then let me go. Give your press conference, save your company, and move on with your life." "And what about your life?" Olivia picked up her bag. "I'll figure it out. I always do." She headed for the door, but Ethan caught her arm. "Olivia, wait. What if we could find a way to make this work? What if we could prove to everyone that what we have is real?" "How?" "I don't know yet. But give me time to think. Give us time." Olivia looked into his eyes and saw desperation and hope and love all mixed together. It would be so easy to say yes, to stay and fight and damn the consequences. Instead, she kissed him softly. "I love you, Ethan. That's why I'm leaving." "That makes no sense." "It makes perfect sense. And someday, when you're running your company and changing the world like you're supposed to, you'll understand." Olivia walked to the elevator, her heart breaking with every step. Ethan followed her. "This isn't over," he said as the elevator doors opened. "Yes, it is. Olivia, I'm serious. I'm going to figure this out. Ethan, please let me go. Let us both move on." The elevator doors closed between them, and Olivia saw Ethan's reflection in the polished metal, looking lost and determined at the same time. As the elevator descended, Olivia's phone buzzed one final time. A text from Ethan. "I love you too, and I'm not giving up." Olivia deleted the message without responding. But she didn't delete the photo from his parents' house. Even as she walked out of his building, past the reporters who shouted her name and the photographers who captured her tear-stained face, she kept that photo because sometimes, even when love isn't enough to overcome the obstacles, it's still worth remembering that it existed. 6 months later, Olivia sat in her favorite coffee shop in Portland, Oregon, typing on a laptop that wasn't held together with duct tape. One of the few luxuries she'd allowed herself from the advance on her book deal, Fake It Till You Make It. A love story would be published in the fall, and early reviews were calling it an honest, funny, and heartbreaking look at modern love in the age of social media. She'd changed names, altered details, and written it as fiction. But anyone who'd followed the Ethan Carter scandal would recognize the story. Her editor called it roman à clef with real heart. Olivia called it expensive therapy. The coffee shop's television was tuned to CNBC, volume low. But Olivia glanced up when she heard a familiar name. Ethan's company had just announced their IPO, the most successful tech offering of the year. He was standing behind a podium at the New York Stock Exchange, ringing the opening bell, looking handsome and successful and completely composed. Olivia felt a familiar ache in her chest. She'd kept track of him through business news and carefully avoided any personal coverage. But she knew from Lily that he'd handled the scandal beautifully. He'd given a press conference where he took full responsibility for the arrangement, spoke eloquently about the nature of public relationships in the social media age, and somehow emerged looking more human and relatable, rather than damaged. His company's stock had initially dipped but recovered within weeks, and investor confidence was higher than ever. Ethan Carter, it seemed, had turned a potential disaster into a business triumph. Olivia was happy for him, really. The fact that she cried herself to sleep some nights and had moved across the country to avoid seeing reminders of him everywhere was just growing pains. Her phone buzzed. A text from Lily. "Did you see the news? Ethan's IPO is huge. Also, totally unrelated, there's something weird happening at your old apartment building." Olivia frowned and typed back. "Weird, how?" "Like deliveries, flowers, packages, stuff addressed to you. Even though you don't live there anymore." Mrs. Wong is confused. Before Olivia could respond, a shadow fell across her table. She looked up to find a delivery person holding an enormous bouquet of sunflowers, her favorite flower, though she'd only mentioned that once, months ago. In passing. "Olivia Grant?" the delivery person asked. "That's me. But I think you have the wrong address." "Nope. Right person. These are for you." Olivia accepted the flowers with growing confusion. The card attached was simple. "Congratulations on the book deal. I always knew you'd finish one." Her heart stopped. Before she could process this fully, another delivery person appeared, this time with a box from Powell's Books, Portland's most famous bookstore. Inside were first edition copies of every novel Olivia had mentioned loving, each with a personal inscription from Ethan, "To Kill a Mockingbird." For someone who has more integrity than Atticus Finch, Pride and Prejudice. "You were right about first impressions. The Great Gatsby. Some dreams are worth chasing across the country." Olivia's hands were shaking as she opened the final package. It was a laptop bag. Expensive, elegant, professional. The kind a successful author might carry. Inside was a note. "Olivia, I know you hate grand gestures, but I never was good at following your advice. I've spent 6 months trying to forget you and figure out how to live without you. I've been spectacularly unsuccessful at both. I know you moved to Portland for a fresh start, and I respect that. But I also know that some things are worth fighting for, even when the odds are terrible and the timing is wrong and everyone thinks you're crazy. I'm in Portland. I have a proposal for you, not that kind of proposal yet, but a business proposal, a real one with contracts and everything. Because apparently that's how we do romance. Meet me at Powell's Books Rare Book Room at 7:00 p.m. tonight if you're willing to hear me out. If you don't come, I'll understand. I'll leave you alone and wish you nothing but happiness. But I hope you come, because I've learned something in the last 6 months. Love isn't about timing or circumstances or what makes sense on paper. It's about finding someone who makes you better and choosing them every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. I choose you, Olivia Grant. I chose you the night I kissed you. I chose you when I fell in love with you, and I'm choosing you now. The question is, will you choose me? All my love, Ethan. P.S. My mother says to tell you the garden is beautiful this time of year, and you're still welcome any time. Olivia read the note 3 times, her heart pounding so hard she was sure the entire coffee shop could hear it. She looked at the clock, 3:47 p.m. She had 3 hours and 13 minutes to decide whether to show up to what might be the most important meeting of her life, or to delete Ethan Carter from her story permanently. Outside the coffee shop window, it started to rain, the kind of gentle Pacific Northwest drizzle that made everything look soft and romantic and full of possibility. Olivia gathered up her flowers, her books, and her courage, and headed home to figure out what to wear to potentially get her heart broken or repaired. Some stories, she realized, don't end when you think they do. Sometimes they just pause, waiting for the right moment to begin again. 7 o'clock p.m. Powell's Books, Rare Book Room. Olivia found Ethan standing in front of a display of first edition love stories, wearing jeans and a simple blue sweater instead of his usual suit. He looked nervous, which was somehow both endearing and terrifying. "You came," he said, turning when he heard her footsteps. "I came, though I'm not sure why, because you're curious. It's your best and worst quality." Olivia couldn't help smiling. "What's this business proposal, Ethan?" Ethan pulled out a folder because, of course, he had a folder. "I want to start a foundation for journalism education, specifically for students from working-class backgrounds who want to go into investigative reporting. I want to fund scholarships, internships, mentorship programs." Olivia blinked. "That's actually a really good idea. I want you to run it." "What?" "I want you to be the director, design the programs, choose the recipients, shape the curriculum. Use everything you've learned about the industry, both the good and the bad." Olivia stared at him. "Ethan, I can't work for you. You wouldn't be working for me. You'd be working for the foundation. I'd just be the primary donor." "That's the same thing." "No, it's not, Olivia. I've spent 6 months thinking about what you said about not letting you destroy my life. And you were right, but not for the reasons you think." "What do you mean?" "I realize that a life without you in it isn't worth protecting. I don't want a perfect career if it means losing the person who makes me want to be better. I don't want success if I can't share it with you." Olivia felt her carefully constructed walls beginning to crumble. "Ethan, I'm not asking you to be my girlfriend again. I'm asking you to be my partner in this foundation, in making something meaningful together, whether we're together romantically or not. And if we're not, you'd really be okay working with me professionally while we're friends." Ethan's smile was rueful. "I'd rather have you as a friend than not have you at all. Though I should mention my mother specifically requested that I tell you she's prepared to meddle extensively in our relationship until we come to our senses." Despite herself, Olivia laughed. "She said that?" Her exact words were, "Ethan Carter, if you let that girl get away because you're both too stubborn and scared to admit you belong together, I will disown you and adopt her instead. I like your mother. She adores you. So does my father. They've asked about you approximately once a week for 6 months." Olivia looked around the rare book room, surrounded by love stories that had stood the test of time. "Ethan, what if this doesn't work? What if we try again and it falls apart? Then we'll deal with it like adults." "But Olivia, what if it does work? What if we're actually good together when we're not being watched by half the media world? Are we not being watched now?" Ethan gestured around the quiet bookstore. "Do you see any photographers? How did you know I'd be here in Portland? I mean, Lily might have mentioned it, after I may have asked her to keep me updated on your general well-being, approximately once a week for 6 months. Ethan Carter, have you been stalking me? I prefer maintaining a respectful distance while ensuring your happiness and success. And it's less creepy when you put it that way." Olivia shook her head, but she was smiling. "You're impossible. I'm persistent. There's a difference." They stood there, looking at each other, 6 months of separation and hurt and longing hanging between them. "The foundation is a good idea," Olivia said finally. "Does that mean you'll consider it?" "It means I'll think about it. What would help you decide?" Olivia considered this. "Dinner. Somewhere quiet, where we can talk about what we've both learned in the last 6 months. No contracts, no arrangements, no expectations. Just 2 people figuring out if they can be friends again. And if we can be friends again, then maybe we can figure out if we can be something more." Ethan's smile was radiant. "Olivia Grant, would you like to have dinner with me as friends, with the possibility of more, But no pressure either way. Ethan Carter. I thought you'd never ask. As they left Powell's books together, walking into the gentle Portland rain, Olivia realized that some love stories don't end with a kiss, or a wedding, or a declaration. Sometimes they end with a question mark, a maybe, a willingness to try again. Sometimes the best endings are actually new beginnings. And sometimes, when you're brave enough to choose love over fear, practical over safe, and trust over certainty, you get to write your own happy ending. Olivia had no idea if her story with Ethan would work out, but for the first time in 6 months, she was excited to find out. After all, the best stories are the ones you can't predict, and theirs would.